Why you should tell your kids or grandkids or yourself to join the military. I was sitting in Walmart the other day, and I had this hat on, my 10th Mountain Division hat. And some guy came up to me, an older black guy came up to me. He goes, "Hey, excuse me, sir, excuse me." And I said, "Hey, what's up?" I was doing the self-check. He goes, "Were you in 10th Mountain?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "Were you in Fort Drum?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, man, me too." I said, "Really?" He was an older guy, white hair. And he goes, and he said, "When were you there?" I said 88, well, actually 89 and 92. He goes, "Man, I was there," and I think he said early 2000s, like 2000, 2005, I think. And he looked probably 10 years older, maybe 5-10 years older than me. I was like, "Really?" I said, "Man, so you must have been a first sergeant up there." And he said, "Yeah, that's right, exactly." He was in the 2nd Brigade. I was in 1st Brigade. And it was just fun. We just got to talking, and he had an accent. And I said, "Where are you from?" And, obviously he wasn't from America in terms of his accent. He goes, "Oh, I'm from Haiti." I said, "Oh, man, I had my platoon sergeant, Sergeant Mason, who I just loved this guy. He was from Panama." And I said, how'd you like Fort Drum? Kid from Haiti. He goes, "It was cold, man." It was awesome. We just got to chat, and it's just funny, man. I was watching this guy knowing better, and I don't know if that guy's name, and he's kind of liberal, but he's a good guy. I like his videos. Very educational, very informative, and he was talking about his days, and I think he's from Hawaii, but he was talking about his days in the military, and he said something that's 100% true. The thing is, once you're a veteran, you always have a friend, no matter who they are, who's other veterans. Doesn't matter what unit in, what branch, it doesn't matter. You always have somebody who you consider a friend once you've a veteran. And it's just funny. That is so true. He goes, "It doesn't matter. It won't matter if they're the biggest libs, the biggest right wingers. At the end of the day, you share this bond of service that will never be. It'll never go away. And it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Spanish, Asian. It doesn't matter if you're freaking, like I said, a big lib. None of that matters. It just matters that you have this thing of service, that you have some sense of respect with somebody else, even if they weren't in your, like I was 11 Bravo, even if they're in the, whoa, what the, okay, that was weird. Why is that guy doing that? Okay, wait. That was strange. You're literally pulling in front. Hold on just a second. What are you doing? Alright, that might have been the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Some guy literally pulled in front of me and stopped at the light with a cop right there. That was odd. Anyway, I don't get that at all. But anyway, so going back, and there's always, the funny thing is, there's just always this camaraderie, and it'll never be broken ever. You might not keep, like, I actually had a friend, a guy I knew when I was in the Army, Kevin from St. Augustine. He emailed me about 4 months ago, and I need to call him back, and we exchanged emails a little bit, but I mean, the funny thing is, I haven't spoken to him literally in probably 30 years, right? 25 years. 30, probably 30 years or so, and yet you will always have something to talk about. Now, we might not ever be good friends or be the best chums or anything, because life goes on, but we'll always have something to talk about, even though I haven't spoken to this guy for a long time. It's just, that's a fun, I don't know I was never in a fraternity in college. I don't know what that's like. Had no desire to join one, but I would imagine it's similar, I guess, and maybe even a little bit more unique, because a fraternity, I don't know how it works, but I just know at the end of the day, when you're part of a group of people who sacrifice and join the military, it'll forever have that affinity towards others who've done the same. Now, with that said, I don't know anything about the Air Force. I don't know anything about the Navy. So, the Marine Corps I probably have more in common with, simply because they're grunts, and I was an 11 Bravo. But I don't know. But it's funny. I listen to Jack Spurko, who is an auto mechanic, a Deuce mechanic. I have more in common with him than a guy in the Air Force, even though he was a mechanic in the Army, just because we both, trekked the same grounds, if that makes sense. And that's the guy who runs the Survival Podcast. He went to when you're in the Army, a lot of the things are the same deployments, the same places you go to, same units and whatnot. When in the Air Force, it's different. In the Navy, obviously, you're on ships, so I don't have a whole lot of, experience or knowledge with people in the Navy or what they do. But at the end of the day, it's still the same camaraderie, and you'll never lose that. And it's freaking awesome, man. It just puts you on a level that says, I'm one of a group of people that are unique across the world, and it's beyond religion, it's beyond race. It's freaking awesome. And I just never forget Sergeant Mason, man, my platoon sergeant. I used to smoke Newports, and he was trying to quit, but he smoked Newports too. And we'd be out in the field, and he'd always come up to me and say, Scan. He'd call me Scan. Hey, Scan. Yeah. Hey, give me those Newports, would you? And he had a Panamanian accent. I can't do it, and he always knew he could rely on me to have a Newport. And I said, Sergeant Mason, you're trying to quit? He goes, yeah, I'll quit when I get home. Just don't tell my wife. Anyway. And he, it's gonna make tears in my eyes, but he actually kind of played the role of my dad when I had these. We lost 3 of our guys in our platoon who got killed not platoon, I guess our company, yeah, in Bravo Company, not our platoon. But anyway, 3 guys got killed. Come back from Rochester, New York. I don't know if they're drunk driving or whatnot, but they got in a car crash. I think they might have just fallen asleep at the wheel. And I had never lost anybody, and I was devastated. I was devastated because they were like one guy I looked up to, was like my big brother. You know what I'm saying? And he was a black guy, and he used to, I don't know. I mean, he would take me around and stuff. I don't know. He just liked me. I guess maybe because I like rap music or something like that. I don't know, but anyway, he just, he would take me around. We'd go out to the. I didn't have a driver's license. I didn't drive, but he'd take me with his friends, and we'd go to like the bar and stuff. And I couldn't drink or anything, but I'd be the designated driver, even though I didn't have a license. And it just he kind of took me under his wing, even though I was a white guy. And he got killed. And coming back from Rochester, and that man, I only knew him for 3 months. You know what I'm saying? But. Man, and he might not even looked at me the same. Like, he might have just looked at me as just a guy who was tagging along. But I looked up to him, and my roommate. My roommate was his good friend actually, and he was from Louisiana, Jones. And I like Jones okay. I liked him okay. He liked me okay, but we're roommates. And I don't think he died. Or at least that accident, I can't remember. He got out though of the Army because of the accident, but I don't think he died. But anyway, Jones and I were just roommates. But the other guy, Richard, I basically freaking worshipped the ground that guy walked on. And Jones and Richard were good friends, and another guy, Williams, from another platoon. Actually, so 2 guys from our platoon. I think Williams died. Jones didn't die, but I never saw him again. And then Richard died, and there's another guy. I forgot the other guy. Anyway, but anyway, so Sergeant Mason was a guy who he was the I don't know how to say it, the psychologist. Like, I don't know, it's not even a psychologist. It's just as a guy that I could go to, and more of a formality of he's sergeant first class, and I was just a private E1. But he was just more of a father figure to me, and I tell you, man, I needed that. For weeks on end, I had never lost anybody. I'd never known what it was like, and I was dead. I mean, it was dead. And I just remember Sergeant Mason, he just always was looking out for me. And here's a guy from Panama. And the only thing, he knew it, so he said, "Hey, Scan, come over here." And they have these little offices. We'd get back from the field, and I guess he could just see it in me. And he'd say, "Hey, let's have a smoke. Bring your smoke. I need a smoke. And I know he didn't, but it's his way to kind of check in on me. And we just sit there, and I'd cry. And I said I'd never lied. And anyway, it was, that guy, more than anything, helped me get through the worst days of my life. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if I was suicidal. I might have been beyond suicidal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what it's like to be suicidal. But I just remember I was so sad. And I hear people are suicidal. They're not even sad anymore. They got nothing. I don't know what it's like, but I remember I was just it's hard to get out of bed. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't hard to get out of bed because I had nothing, but I had nothing but sadness. Oh man, that's horrible. And Sergeant, but you had to. You're in the Army. You got to show up. And Sergeant Mason would just, say, hey, come share a smoke with me, even though I know he's trying to quit. And he told his wife he quit. And the funny thing was, I had, not me, my dad. My dad had access to my checking account, and he was writing checks against my money, and they bounced because we were being in the field for freaking months on end, essentially on deployments, and you didn't spend any money. And so that was before the internet and all that, so you had no idea how much money you had. And so you get back to the PX, and you assume you had a month of pay. And back then it was like $800, but you're like, all right, now we're back. I'm gonna buy, I don't know, friggin' carton of Newports. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. And you write a check, and it bounced at the AFES. And I didn't know it bounced. Anyway, long story short, what AFES would do is they would tell your company commander, and have to go down to your platoon sergeant, and you'd have to get reprimanded. And what they'd do is they wouldn't promote you because they say we can't trust you with money. And I'll never forget that. I said, man, and Sergeant Mason, he said, I told him, I said, Sergeant Mason, I'm not freaking writing these checks. My dad, he knew. He knew. I said, my dad was writing the checks against my money while we're in Germany. He said, I know, but I can't promote you. And he had to go to some freaking money management class, and so basically what happened was I had to go to this money management class, and we got back from Germany. I can't remember if I can't remember what else they do, but and then you had to wait 3 months to not have another bounce check before you got promoted. And the difference between private E1 and private E2 was substantial from an income perspective. I can't remember how much, but it's substantial. I mean, it's like 25% pay raise. So all these other guys are getting, maybe it's like 600 to 850, something. It's a significant amount of money. And so for 3 months, I was making literally 20 to 30% less than all my friends who I'd gone through basic training with, who got their first stripe. And just because my dad was freaking writing checks against my accounts without my knowledge, and it wasn't his money, it was my money. Anyway, so I remember we get to so these guys we go to NTC, Fort Irwin. So we got back from Germany. I couldn't, all my other guys got promoted to private E1, and they're making difference, $250 extra bucks a month. And then we deploy to California, and I'm still private E1. They're private E2, which means they got their first stripe. And I'm making $650 a month, whatever it was, and they're making $900. I don't remember something, but substantial. And we get to National Training Center, and I can't remember if they put a thing where I couldn't write checks. I can't remember what it was, but I didn't have access the way these other guys did. And we go to the PX and whatnot, and they're able to buy all kinds of stuff, and I couldn't do it. I can't remember what it was, but I just remember I had handcuffs. So not only did they make more money, I think I could only use cash or something like that. I just don't remember. But anyway, and I remember I was like, dude, freaking, I was pissed. And then finally, when we get back from NTC, National Training Center, I was able to, because I guess what it was, they wouldn't let you write checks. That's what I think what it was. They wouldn't let you write checks for 3 months. You couldn't write, you had to go to this class for money management, and then they wouldn't let you write checks for 3 months, and then you couldn't get promoted. So it's pretty significant. So anyway, long story short, I think they got to go someplace, and I couldn't do it. I can't remember, but I just remember I said, dude, this freaking sucks. And anyway, so we finally get back, and I was finally able to get promoted after 3 months. and that was significant money. And I was finally able to get my checkbook back and maybe a debit card or something like that. And anyway, the whole point was Sergeant Mason was a guy. I said, look, I can't let you. And we got, all these other guys got promoted as they had this ceremony. He just told me in advance, because you can't get promoted. I said, why? He goes, because he's bounced checks. I said, but I don't bounce the checks. He goes, I know. I said, but my dad did. He goes, I know. And I'll never forget, he's looked at me, and this is the same time that Richard got killed. My roommate was no longer in, and I don't think he died from that. I just can't recall. But I remember, and he said, I know. And it's just, it's a bad time in my life. And long story short, I got in a fist fight with some kid. We went to a bar off, and I was just not a good place. I was angry at that point. And we went to some place in Watertown, some bar, and again, I couldn't drink. But we'd drink in the barracks and go to this place, and I bumped some guy, I can't remember what it was, but I just remember I was ready to throw down, and I was swinging hard, and I got arrested, and the guy in charge of CQ, which is called Commander's Quarterly, I can't remember, Sergeant Smith, had to get me out of the jail in Watertown. And then the first sergeant, so now I've got an issue that's bouncing checks. I was in a bad place as it was. I remember I was drunk. It was a bad place, man. And I remember I got arrested. And the first sergeant said, yeah, he didn't have any quarter for me. He wanted to kick me out. I'll never forget that. He told Sergeant Mason, he said, look, this guy's got 3 strikes. I'll let you have 1 more strike, but that's it. I don't know what they do. I don't know how they kick you out of the Army. I don't know how that works, but basically I had bouncing checks. I got arrested. I had maybe one other thing, and I remember I yelled at one of those. I was drunk, and I yelled at Sergeant Moss. I came back one time, and Sergeant Moss was an ass, but he let me slide this time. He came in the next day, and he told me, because I could have had you removed from the Army. Sergeant Moss was this big, tall, black guy. He was very Christian, but he was he wasn't the same, and he was the 3rd squad leader or something like that. But he didn't have the same level of emotions that Sergeant Mason did. He was very strict and by the book. It was actually pretty funny, because we had my squad leader, Sergeant Jackson, was a white guy. Then we had Sergeant Moss, the 1st squad leader, and then we had Sergeant Love, the 3rd squad leader. Both Sergeant Moss and Sergeant Love were black guys, hard charging. Sergeant Jackson was more of just a redneck from North Carolina. He was pretty hard charging too. But Sergeant Love was freaking hardcore. He was like Ranger. I think he went on to like a Ranger battalion. Sergeant Moss did not do any of that, but he was very Christian, very, very, I think, Seventh-day Adventist, which is a pretty religious doctrinaire, where I think on Sundays you can't work. I can't remember what it was, but he was very by the book. Sergeant Love was just hardcore. And then you had Sergeant Mason, who was just kind of a Panamanian dude smoking cigarettes. Who just, I don't want to say joking smoking. He was hard charging, but not nearly what Sergeant Love or Sergeant Moss were. And if I would have had Sergeant Love or Sergeant Moss, I would have not lasted. I remember Sergeant Moss said, "You're lucky you're not my squad, son, or else I would have had you booted from the Army." And it was just that 3-month period, man, 3 to 4 months. I just got out of basic training. I just got my first Article 15 because the checks were bouncing, which meant I didn't get promoted. These guys got killed, and then in a kind of a rage, I got in a fight with some civilian off campus, off base, and then I think after that, that's what it was. That's when we deployed to NTC, and I forgot my firing pin or something like that. I forgot what it was, but I was just part of the expression, a shit sandwich. And I'll never forget, we're sitting in formation with the whole battalion, and they called me out. They said, Scanlon. I said, oh boy, why they call me? It's because I lost my firing pin, or I lost my bolt. I can't remember what it was. And I can't remember the whole story. I just remember something happened and they called me out. And I remember first sergeant was just like, there's no way you're going to make this. No way you're going to succeed in this infantry unit. Because infantry, a lot of people think grunts are idiots, you know what I'm saying? And, mindless, numb robots, whatever, just do it. But infantry is actually, leader, I hate to say elite, because that may, it's not Rangers or it's not even airborne, but it's an elite unit to the extent that dress code, you dress right dress, you have, everything is cut, squared away. It's a squared away unit of professional soldiers. And it has to be. It has to be like that because infantry is the front lines. I've said a million times, I never went to battle. I don't know what it's like in battle, but in battle, it has to, just like playing in any kind of uniform or organized sports, it has to have a methodology that has to follow suit no matter what. You've got to follow your orders. You got to follow, and that's why you drill and you drill and you drill and you train and train and train. And, in hindsight, you're looking back in the infantry, you're like, man, why do we go to the field with all these other guys that sitting around smoking and joking? We are always training. We're always in the field. We're always, you're sitting there, look, we're not in war, and even if you're on wars, what's going to happen is that all the best battles are, like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Well, the issue when it comes to infantry, if you get punched in the face, you still have to follow the protocol. You can't just have a bunch of guys with M16s and M60s run around as individual units. It has to follow the unit. And there has to be a chain of command that you have to follow. So anyway, the issue is, in the infantry, it's not elite like, we're, freaking berets or nothing like that, but it has to follow protocol. And if it don't, the whole thing breaks down. And you took a guy like me in there and I'd never forget it. We're in NTC, National Training Center in Fort Irwin, and they're like, dude, you're a shit sandwich. You're gonna root like that. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And at that point, I was the weakest link, probably the whole company. And that's when Sergeant Mason came, and it was embarrassing because I felt I had let him down. You see what I'm saying? And man, that I felt like I let him down. I can't remember what we did after that, but somehow I was able to pull my head out of my butt. And in August of 1989, where did we deploy again? We deployed again to Germany. I can't remember. After that we deployed to Fort down here in Georgia, to Fort Stewart. I think that was the first deployment where I got my head together. I was able to actually start getting my stuff squared away. Yeah, I think we came down to Fort Stewart in like October of 1989, and I think we went back to Germany in 1990. I can't remember, but I just remember I went to Germany twice. But the second time I went to Germany, I had my stuff together enough so where I was recommended to go to pre-ranger school, and then I ultimately passed that. I don't know how I did that, because I certainly am not good at tactical, and I've never been good at listening to people tell me what to do. I passed somehow, and then I was able to go to ranger school from there in 1990 in the summer. So the summer of 1989, I was a cluster foxtrot, a shit sandwich. And then something happened where I was able to just change from basically Fort Stewart. I think it was October 1989. Then we went back to Germany for Reforger. We did a couple other deployments in between, Fort Bragg or something, I can't remember. And we went to NTC again. I can't remember. I don't recall. But I remember by the time that May of 1990, I guess June of 1990, it was 9-90. So June of maybe it was May of 1990 is when I went to Ranger School. And I didn't pass, as I told you many times before, but I was there for I was 9-90, 10-90, 11-90, 12-90, if memory serves. I know it's 990, the first thing. I think that means when you graduate, your graduating class is September 90, so I was in June, and then I didn't, so I did the bedding phase twice, in the mountain phase twice, and I said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm just done. And I got back, and we had a different first sergeant, different platoon leader, platoon sergeant, I mean. And then we deployed to Honduras for 6 months. Yeah, that's what it was. Anyway, the long story. I just, man, it was, I had 3 months time there, probably 4 months time. And the sad thing, it just felt like you're on your own. And I remember the only guy I had was Sergeant Mason. He was all I had. And, you know, and he was, I don't want to say he, I don't know how they kick people out of the military. I don't know how that works, but he was able to at least right the ship, if that makes sense. So at least keep the first sergeant from, you know, I don't know what happened. I don't know how it works, but Sergeant Mason was able to give me a third chance where I think the first sergeant said, you were enough. You know what I'm saying? And he enlightened me, the first sergeant. He was from, he wasn't born in the United States. He was from, not Samoa, I can't remember, but he was freaking hardcore. He was SF, Special Forces. Where is he from? Southeast Asia, someplace, but it wasn't Thailand, it wasn't Vietnam. I can't remember, but he was, it wasn't Guam. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But anyway, he was freaking, he did not, he, you know, basically, he didn't give you any, he had no sympathy at all. You know, it was crazy, and man, he scared me to death. And anyway, long story short, I remember Sergeant Mason was the guy who kind of was able to intervene to allow me a third, maybe fourth chance. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here today. I'm not saying I would have killed myself. I don't think I'd never had that feeling of wanting to kill myself. I just remember I would have been lost, and I'd probably be in jail, frankly, because I had so much anger and hostility back then. If I would have got kicked out of the Army, I would have been in a drunken rage, and I just had it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I just, thankfully, Sergeant Mason. Anyway, the long story about this is, you know, you see some guy from Haiti coming up on you from 10th Mountain Division, and you're like, you just have something in common with this guy. And, you know, I'm sure that guy has his own stories. You know what I'm saying? I mean, leaving Haiti. You know, Haiti's freaking, you know, Clinton and all these guys did so much damage to Haiti that, you know, I mean, just, I'll take a guy from Haiti any day of the week of a guy from Harvard. Let's just put it that way. I'd take a guy from freaking Dominican Republic any day of the week over a guy from Harvard. I'd take a guy from Venezuela, a guy from freaking, you know, you name it, Puerto Rico, all these places where it's just poverty. And they look at us and say, what are you griping about? Yeah, long-winded thing, I know, but oh, God bless Sergeant Mason, man. Guy saved my life, no other way around that. It's good to be alive, man. All right, we'll see you.